Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andrea Hill, CEO of Hill Management Group and the Works brands, and I'm joined by my friend and frequent collaborator, Tanya Nisguretsky, who is the CEO and founder of VDB, Virtual Diamond Boutique. And we are having a series of, we're always having this conversation, and so we decided to have this conversation with you about the state of the jewelry industry, where we've been, what's been happening leading up to COVID, how COVID is affecting us as an industry, and what things are likely to look at like, particularly as it comes to buying and selling in this new reality that we are finding ourselves in. So that's what we're doing. And say hi, Tanya, because I just did all the talking.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for the intro. We're very excited to be here with you and to do these 3 episodes and hope you'll get some good value out of it. We ended our last episode talking about supply chain relationships, and I think that's a good place to start. So let's talk about the fact that, both B2B and B2C, our relationships are very different. And let's talk about how B2B specifically, especially in the diamond sector, how are those relationships different, and what is important what's important to build trust. My background, as I stated in the other one, was retail, but it was also in wholesale. A lot of people don't know that I come from, the retail sector for over 20 years, and then wholesale for probably just as long as that. So I've had a bird's eye view in both elements. And when I had my wholesale company, still running today, I knew that, we were all selling the same thing. We're all selling diamonds, right? But I needed to stand out. And I needed to know, well, how is it my company is going to stand out from the rest? And obviously, as we know, a lot of people do business with people, right? But at the end of the, if
we're not talking about diamonds. You're right. It's a people business.
I honestly, I see it all the time. People are, could be listing on our platform, and they could be less expensive, but there are people who will still go to the most expensive ones because they know that company, they know that supplier. So why is it that some people will go only to the specific suppliers they have? I mean, we talk sometimes with retailers that say, I have my top 3. Those are the guys I go to, and I call them. And if I don't have what I'm looking for, then I go and look on VDB for it. But then there are others that don't care about that too much. They're like, I'm going to go for the cheapest guy. But let's talk about the ones that do, because I think it's important. And how do you get to a point where they believe you and they trust you? And it's not only about, obviously, do you care about what's happening in their life? It's about trust. And are you being honest with them? So for instance, back in the day, before we were all buying and selling from pictures and videos, we really relied on description and what we were saying to one another. So, we would get frequent calls that would say, well, what does the diamond look like? Can you describe it to me? Is it eye clean? Is it not? Where's the imperfection? And it was very important for me and our company to describe it with honesty. Why? Because even if you're dishonest, the people you're going to ship the item.
It goes up. Yep.
They're going to be shipping fees, and they're going to get pissed off. And then really, that's
selling is bad.
You don't build trust, right? So why not just be honest? People are not blind, okay? Just be honest and look at the item and say, listen, you know what? In my opinion, under the light, it looks this and this way. And between the items, this one sparkles more, it's cut better, whatever it may be. Honesty really is the best policy. So first of all, they want to do business with people who are honest. So give them accurate descriptions and information, and that is how you're going to build trust, which is so important in today's world. And you know what? Sometimes also, we all know, not 2 diamonds are priced the same. You can have exactly the same characteristics, but one can be brighter, one can have better inclusions, so therefore the price can be higher. And people are willing to pay that as long as you're honest with them. So Honesty is really always the best policy.
Yep. And then when we build those trusting relationships, they last. They last a really long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
well, that's probably a good segue into talking about the how the B2B and B2C selling requirements are different. Though I would kind of like to lead into this by saying they're much more similar than they ever were. So when we first started making a lot of graphic websites in the late 90s, what you did for a B2B website was extremely different from what you did for a B2C website. Today, those types of websites have largely converged. You have to have great technology in both. You have to have regularly updatable, upgradable technology in both. They have to do a lot of the same things, but there are still some subtle differences between what you have to do in a B2B versus what you have to do in a B2C website. So let's talk about those things. First of all, buyers' intention and decision making. You know, what a consumer goes through to think about whether they're going to buy from a B2C website is a lot about, can I trust this vendor? Are they legitimate? You know, they've been around for a while. And then they go straight to, what products do they have? And are they products that I want? And do they look good enough for me to believe they're going to be beautiful when I either get them through a shipper or go pick them up at the store? For B2C products, the retailer needs to know what the full selection is. I'm sorry, B2B. For the B2B websites, retailers need to know what's the full selection of what's available. And it may not be a retailer, it could be a designer, it could be a job shop, whoever, but your business contact, they need to know everything that you've got. And they need to be able to sort through it and look at, do you have the price points that they need? Can they build the assortment they need? What are your minimums? So the product offering itself has to be visual and complete. You can't just show a few of your pieces on the website and hope that they believe that you've got a lot more in your back room. The back room needs to be on the website now so that all the stock's visible. But the intention around, what will I buy from this company? It's different for a business buyer than it is for a consumer. So you need to make sure that you understand what causes a business consumer to make, or a business customer to make a decision about buying from you. And are you sharing all that information on your website? And on a B2C, those reasons are going to look different. So buyer's intention and decision making are different. The scope and size of your audience is different for B2B versus B2C. So on a B2C website, you're positioning yourself to speak with thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of potential buyers. On a B2B site, the scope is very different. We know who the audience is, particularly in our industry. It's a much smaller audience. And on a B2B website, it needs to have the capability of being much more personal or personalized. So you need to be able to show different price levels based on somebody's different level of login. They want to see their prices on your site. They don't want to go to a calculator and calculate their prices based on a generic price level. You don't have to have price levels on a B2C site. You need to be able to offer a sale now and then or a promotion now and then. If you're really smart, you could have your like gold customers section available only from login, for instance. But on a B2B site, you need to recognize that your audience is very different and they have different expectations of you in terms of price. Some of them may have access to exclusive inventory. We all know we set aside some inventory for the very, very best customers. You know, can they see that without everybody else seeing it, without having to make the phone call? Because face it, most of us like talking to our favorite customers, but they don't always want to be on a phone call. Sometimes they want to be able to just look it up in the middle of the night, see what they need, and be ready for the morning. So scope and size of audience are very different between B2B and B2C. Your marketing approach is very different. So your website serves as the platform for all the marketing you're going to do. On a B2C website, you could be talking about AdWords and banner ads and lots of pay-per-click, and that kind of advertising is necessary to reach an audience of tens and hundreds of thousands. Your marketing approach on a B2B site is going to be very different. AdWords doesn't pay very well for most B2B, unless you're in a really large industry. If you're selling steel widgets, yeah, then some AdWords might make a lot of sense. But for a jewelry industry B2B, we're talking about working through our trade options for advertising, lots of email, lots of direct outreach. So your marketing approach is different, and marketing uses the website as a or I should say advertising. Advertising is a springboard off the website. So you're always bringing everybody back to your website so that they can finish building the intention to make an order. So your website is different in terms of understanding that the marketing you are going to do related to it will be different, B2B, B2C. A B2C website has to have shopping carts and credit card integrations, and they have to be fully secure, fully compliant. A B2B website can get away without that, but on the B2B side, you do need to be able to take a purchase order with specific products on it, or be able to handle doing memos and holds. So that's a big difference between the two types of sites. So I guess to wrap up this thought process, B2B and B2C websites, when you first look at them, they may not look any different today. You can't have an ugly B2B website. You can't have an ugly B2C website. You can't have a website that looks like it was designed in 2008, because everybody's going to know you're not paying attention to your business. So superficially, you might log into one and not know for a moment whether it's B2B or B2C. But very quickly thereafter, a business customer should know that that website is speaking to them and that there are specific things they can do in that website. And likewise, very quickly, a consumer should know, this is for me, I can buy from here. And we start leading them through their buyer journeys, and that's where they're different. So not immediately obvious, but under the sheets, the sites need to do a lot of different things. So, but then that only gets us to the point where we're selling, Tanya, right? So in this new virtual reality, how do we do the important selling tasks that we're used to doing in person and in the store?
So there's ways to do it. Obviously, now there has to be this whole omni-channel approach, right? They start from online, your website, they come to your store, and you need to be able to service them with all different points and all different elements, and it's all part of the engagement. I think it's really important for us to talk about the B2B and the B2C online presence, but it's also just as important to talk about what happens when they're in the store and how to engage them in the store. Because again, it all goes back to the fact that the customers are spoiled, right? Now you've gotten them all excited, okay? Now you've put up all this great stuff, you got your website ready, and now they actually want to come in. Right? So they come in.
Preference, right?
Preference, which is what you want, because you got them all excited. That's why we said, visuals online, put it as much as you can on there, let them know that you have the inventory. And now that they come in, they see a lack of inventory. And how do you compensate for that? So I know some retailers are they go and they show their website to their customers and they say, well, do you want this or that? And you know what? That's an okay approach and that's doable. But I believe that there's a much better option than that, because at the end of the day, the experience online and the experience in the store should be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It'll still be the same, but should be a little different. So when they're walking into your store and let's say you don't have the item in stock and now you're pulling on your website, they're like, well, I could have done this, at home.
Myself, right?
Myself, you're not creating a different experience, but there is a format of doing that, but you could do it more personalized on a tablet, and having it not look like your online presence, have it look more, more like an in-store.
Tailored for your store experience.
Exactly. Thank you. More tailored, and it actually could have your colors and your information. It could be. So this is actually one of the biggest benefits of what it is that we do. It's the sales tool. You actually have an ability at no charge, guys, by the way. So, you have the ability to, when the customer comes into your store and they say, listen, I want the 2.5 carat oval that I saw online, and you don't have it. So now you pull it out and then you could engage the client and walk them through the purchasing process. Or they didn't see it online. They just walked in randomly. They didn't see it. And now they want something that you don't have in stock. Well, instead of saying, okay, let me go in the back, let me make a call, or let me, let's make an appointment for you to come back, which is, by the way, 50% of the time they don't come back. I mean, we know, we send a ton of memo out to retailers. And most of the time, the reason they don't make the sale is the customer doesn't come back. The other reason is poor qualification.
Yeah.
So, a customer could come in and they might know what they want. And then there's customers that did their research 100%, but there are customers that really don't know what they want, right? They think they know, but they don't know, or they don't know the difference between a radian and a cushion cut. So you have a sales tool that allows you, with rich visuals, to be able to engage the customer with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of items that you can pre-select and tailor to decide what it is that you want to show. And based on that, you can give them all of the things and beyond that they've seen online, but in your store. You could take them on a buyer's journey. There's so many ways that you could do this. You could say, obviously, it's in my other store, or it's one of my top suppliers, or let's go shopping. Where do you want to buy a diamond from? Do you want to buy a diamond from Israel? Do you want to buy one from India? Do you want to buy one from Belgium? Where do you want to shop from? And you can create a story with it. So we know that people, our clients, everybody, we all love a story, love a good story. So you could do a lot with an in-store sales tool. Walk them through the buying journey with this tool, and you can close so many more sales within your store.
Well, and I love what you just said about not running to the back room to make a phone call. Because when you're like, okay, we don't have it, somebody probably does, you disappear, you do something kind of secretive in the back room, and you come back out and say, okay, I'll have something in 3 days. Instead, you've got the tool right there. So you said tablet, and I'm picturing this. Here's the tablet. We're looking at them together. And then together, we're like, okay, let's get this one sent over. The customer just made a commitment. They were part of that decision. They were, like, should we ask for this one? Yes, let's ask for this one. Now they're a partner with you in that process, instead of being sort of a recipient of the end result that happened in a dark room that they weren't part of.
100%.
It's really compelling.
And it actually goes back to the fact that, we all see things very differently. So what I find beautiful, you might not. When the customer has, we all know cushion cuts are cut so many different ways, right? And the best way to know what kind of cut the customer wants is to present them with all the different options. And then they could say, yes, this is the cut that I want. So they are definitely part of the buying process. And then, by the way, first of all, they're more likely to come back.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're coming back for. And they're getting excited. And you could always ask them for deposit or a refundable deposit to ensure that they do come back. And you didn't waste your time shipping the item.
I would think that it would be easier to get a deposit at that point, because they feel like they just made a choice. They asked for, now they know something real is being sent and it's right in front of their faces. So it should make getting that deposit process easier.
Well, we hear from our retailers every day that they are closing more and more sales based on this concept. And honestly, it's a no-brainer. I don't think that retailers can afford not to have a sales tool these days without missing out and losing the sale.
Yep, well, that's really important. Well, and that kind of goes back to something I was saying before, that both the B2C and the B2B environments need a rich catalog of products that include great descriptions, accurate descriptions, as you pointed out, and excellent photography and video. I also said before that all online selling environments need a shopping cart, and that is really important, but perhaps not for the reason that you think. So pre-COVID, we know that somewhere between 85 and 90% of all jewelry consumers did their pre-shopping, their shopping part online. And then once and Tanya said this in a previous episode, once they know what they want, they've kind of figured out which store they're going to, then they were going into the store and buying. So less than 12% of jewelry transactions were happening online. So the shopping happens online, the buying happens, or the transaction happens in the store. So why do you need a shopping cart if almost 90% of them are not going to use the shopping cart? Because it tells customers you're serious. It shows customers that you have a modern, thoughtful, well-run business. That's part of it. So it's part of building trust. But it's also because people like to know they could have instant gratification if they wanted it. So they may not actually need the instant gratification. They may then decide, okay, I really want to go to the store to see it first. But now they're making a choice. They're saying, okay, I could buy it now if I wanted it, or I could go to the store and get it. When consumers know they have a choice, they are actually much more likely to choose one. One, two, or three choices are really powerful, or two or three choices are really powerful. When somebody only has one choice, do I buy it on the shopping cart or don't I? Or more frequently in our industry, do I now have to go to the store to buy it? When people only have one choice, then their choice is to say yes or no. And they will say no just as often as they say yes. But when they have more than one choice, when they have two or three choices, then they're much more likely to pick one of those choices. I could go to the store or I could buy it online. So that's the reason you really need a shopping cart. Now, B2B, is it still true? Yes, it's still true. So why is that? Because as business owners and managers, we're still consumers. We're shopping online. We've gotten used to the idea that I can put stuff in a cart. So in the jewelry industry, manufacturers and brands and dealers and suppliers that have a shopping cart on their B2B site, which then turns into a purchase order or a memo automatically, are doing better than wholesale companies that do not have the shopping cart option. So this is really important. You may close it in person. If you're a retailer, you're very likely to close it in person. You may close it with a phone call as a B2B. I know that our clients that have really robust shopping carts on their B2B environments, they still get a phone call to wrap it up. That's fine. But it's just making sure that people make the commitment to put things in the cart and have arranged to either pick it up or have it delivered. So, but I was talking a little bit about images and video, Tanya, and I want to tip it back to you because I know you're really passionate about this topic.
Yeah. It's very true. It amazes me that that our industry still, especially our suppliers, don't realize how important visuals are. It just shocks me. When we talk to them, they say, "But I'm still doing business. I've always been doing business this way, and it's working for me." But they don't realize every day how much more business they're losing. Every day when they have to compare their item to an item that has an image, our customers, our B2B shoppers on VDB go straight to the guys that have the images first. Now, if the ones that have images are not available, or maybe there aren't that many options available, then they'll go to you. Visuals are, in today's day, are a requirement. It's no longer a if or when, it's a must. We're visual human beings. We react better to a picture and a video. People want to see the diamonds spinning all around. That's why the e-tailers have incorporated this years ago. They know it works, and there's zero reason that your business has not invested in it. I mean, zero reason. Definitely look into it. I promise you will see an increase in sales, because the retailers will appreciate it, by the way. They need those visuals to put it on their website. So a lot of times we sell API feeds or integrations, and what is it based on? Pictures and videos. So if a supplier doesn't have it, they do not get to be on that site. So there's a lot of businesses being missed out, and you're not even realizing it.
Well, and it's not that expensive to set up to do. Any good smartphone today takes a really good pictures. So a lot of people are just using their smartphones for the photography. I was talking to a customer yesterday, and she was like, do you know anyone that wants to buy a great, she named this whole Canon camera setup. She said, I walked in the back room and I found out that my employees at the Lightbox were using their iPhones. So it's not that expensive to do. It takes time to learn it. You have to invest in like your knowledge and your initial setup, but it's not as expensive as it was back in the 90s when you had to hire an outside photographer for everything. So
I just think it's just part of doing business. It's the cost of doing business. There are certain things you should just, you have to invest. I believe that in order to make money, you have to spend some money, and there are certain things that you need to spend it on. And right now, I would say for our industry, it's, obviously technology and photography. Those are the two big things that I would say you should be investing in.
Yeah, agreed. Let's come back to that technology topic in a minute, but I also want to add a couple of other things that everybody's website has to have. You're right, you have to lead with great photography and great video. You also need good copy. Copy is what drives the internet search. So everybody wants to be on the top of search results for their business or their demographic or your region, wherever. The internet searches words. So people want to come to the site and see great pictures. That's how we make decisions about things most of the time. But the search engines are looking for the words. And a certain percentage of your customers are also going to be people very influenced by words, and they want to read the words. So you have to have all the words there. Some of your customers won't read any of them. Some of your customers will read some of them. The search engines read all of them. So the words are important. So you have to have a website filled with good copy. You also need a website that does something. It can't just sit there like a pretty digital postcard. People expect way more of their websites today. So your website needs to be filled with rich searching opportunities and filtering opportunities. People need to play with the product, and they do that with searching and filtering and building little collections and saving things for later. That's interactivity. Really critical for a website, both for B2B and B2C, we found. The data supports that both types need to be highly interactive. Integrating little chat bots and features that will guide somebody to things that are more interesting to them in the website. A retail greeter, if you walked into a high-end department store, back when we were all walking into high-end department stores, there was often a person who would take you through the whole shopping experience when they knew you had the right money to spend. We can do that on websites today. We can guide people through the shopping experience. So having great interactivity on your website is a very important part of a website. And then finally, incorporating training and knowledge. Now, for consumer sites, training and knowledge in many industries isn't a thing. It is for us. In the jewelry industry, we have all this incredible information to share that's really interesting to people. So on a B2C site, not just FAQs, not just what month is this gemstone's birth month? Everybody does that, but find interesting ways to share training and knowledge. And on the B2B side, that's even more important. Sharing really rich training, education, deepening our commitment to our profession and our craft information on a B2B website will earn you a much more loyal visitor than just showing a couple of products and saying where your office is located. So, but all of that requires technology, right, Tanya? You can't do that on old technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, honestly, with our expertise, and that's there's companies out there that obviously do technology, but there are companies that come from the industry and understand the industry and then create technology, and there's a difference there. And I think the difference is, let's just take it back to our marketplace for a second, or whatever it is. It's not, people say, oh, you're just another marketplace. No, we're not. We're not just another marketplace. The way VDB was created, it was created to actually allow retailers to close more sales using the different elements that Andrea just pointed out. Through the collections and the match pairs and all these different functionalities and features, and actually allows suppliers to do a lot of great things too by doing sourcing and easier sourcing and other elements. So it's very engaging. It's taking it a step or a notch above the required way of doing business from the past. And you know what? Nowadays, actually, technology prices have gone down, right? We're getting credit, and it's much more scalable. So, using a SaaS model, which is what we've incorporated or what we're providing the industry, gets you to market much faster. So taking elements of what we've created, we take that and then we create B2B and B2C sites with those elements that engage your buyers inside and outside of the store and get you to market faster. Because right now, you can't afford to build from the ground up if you want all of these little nuances. If you want a really great diamond search that allows you to do collections and favorites and engagement and sharing, all of that takes a lot of resources to create all of that. But all that was already created. So all you have to do is find the right partner and be able to utilize on what they've built and go straight to market with that.
Well, and I want to add to this because we work with customers across the entire spectrum of the jewelry industry every day, every part of the vertical. And the thing we're always reminding our customers of is, what business are you in? Are you in the jewelry business or are you in the technology business? We had a customer come to us just a couple weeks ago. They wanted to build their own custom app. And they wanted exactly something that already exists in the industry. Tanya was just talking about it. Now, could my company sell them an app? Yes, we could sell them an app. Should we? No, we should not, because they're not going to get any ROI from that massive investment of building an app. They need the app to run their business. So companies like Tanya's company, they take the risk, they invest, they build the app. They can get an ROI off of that because it's their core business. But for jewelry businesses, we don't ever want anyone building and then maintaining the constant maintenance that you have to do to build your own proprietary technology, because the only way to make an ROI on technology is to sell technology, and that's not your business. So it's just a really important way to think about business. What am I getting an ROI on? Oh, on running a jewelry. Invest in and sell jewelry. Use good technology, modern, up-to-date technology that makes sense for your business, but don't worry about building it and then trying to figure out when you're going to get your return on investment for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true, because, we know what it takes to actually always update. We have a whole, large 50 plus person tech team that does all of that. It's the bug fixes, the updates, all of those things. And you know what? You always need another feature. You always need something new. And what happens is, when we're building it out, we're building it for our marketplace, our clients who have our apps and our app solutions, they actually get the benefit from it because we built it. You get to have it.
Well, they're asking for things that you're incorporating. So their needs are getting met as they evolve and as technology makes new things possible.
Exactly, because it's just, honestly, it would be too costly for a smaller company to invest in technology and to be able to continuously grow that aspect and then run the whole company, their whole other company as a whole. So definitely look into other options for that.
Cool. So that was what we wanted to talk about, right, Tanya? How to use the tools that are available for being stronger selling organizations in this new reality.
Yes. And I think there was a lot of great points. And I hope that everybody's going to join us for episode 3, which is tools for success. What tools can your organizations use to increase your virtual selling success?
Excellent. All right. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.